Hey guys, my name is Caitlin and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite classic romance stories. Perfect for Valentine's Day. I have something in here for everyone, whether you want a happy love story or a tragedy. So I'm just gonna get right into it. So the first two books I have are Shakespeare plays. So the first one is As You Like It. This is just such a happy, sweet romance. We have a few love stories in here, but our main love story is between Rosalind and Orlando. And this also primarily takes place in a forest. And I love when Shakespeare plays take place in the forest. It just adds some sort of magical element to it. So our main love story is between Rosalind and Orlando. However, there are a few love stories throughout this play, but Orlando, his love for Rosalind is just so sweet. He leaves a bunch of love notes on trees for Rosalind, and he's just so passionate about her. This is just such a fun, romantic play, and everyone in this play has a happy ending. On the other side of a coin, a Shakespeare play that is very much a tragedy and has no happy endings is Othello. This is probably my favorite Shakespeare tragedy that's centered around a love story. This play follows the love story between Othello and Desdemona. And when this play starts, we find out that Othello and Desdemona got married against Desdemona's father's wishes. And this is a big deal because Othello is not white. So there is a lot of racism in this book as well. That brings us to Iago, who is our play's villain, and he is just so petty. He just wants to cause chaos and start drama. He tells Othello that Desdemona is cheating on him. And as the audience, we know this isn't true. We know she's innocent, but unfortunately, Othello believes Iago, and we witness his intense jealousy and basically his psychological degeneration as he believes this lie. Ultimately, it leads to Desdemona's demise and his own. So this is a very dark play. This is not a happy romance story by any means. But if you want something dark, if you want something tragic, and you want something also lyrical, this is perfect for you. Next, we kind of have another pair. I'm kind of following Shakespeare's doubling, if you will. So the next book, if you want something gloomy and gothic, a book full of yearning and longing with a happy ending, Jane Eyre is perfect for you. This follows the love story of Jane Eyre and Mr. Rochester, and for most of the book, they're apart. They can't be together for several reasons, but the way they speak to each other and express their love for each other is just so beautiful. Actually, let me read you a few lines. Okay, so in this edition, it's on page 225. Jane is thinking about Mr. Rochester, and this is what she thinks. He is not to them what he is to me, I thought. He is not of their kind. I believe he is of mine. I am sure he is. I feel akin to him. I understand the language of his countenance and his movements. And yet, while I breathe and think, I must love him. This book is just beautifully written. It is so descriptive and expressive. It's definitely a slow burn. I don't think you could read this just on Valentine's Day, but if you want to read this throughout February and just have those loving vibes, that yearning, that longing, this is perfect for you. Now on to another Bronte, where if you want that same gloominess, gothic setting, but you want something absolutely horrible, Wuthering Heights is the romance story for you. So this love story follows Heathcliff and Catherine, and they pretty much just love each other all their lives. And Catherine decides to marry someone else because Heathcliff is of a lower social standing, and it's probably in Catherine's best interest to marry someone of a higher social standing because her family is not very well off. But Heathcliff takes Catherine marrying someone else as the ultimate betrayal, and we witness his character turn bitter. We witness Catherine become bitter, and we just watch as them not being together turns them into these horrible, bitter, miserable people. The writing in this is absolutely gorgeous. There's some of the most beautiful, haunting lines in this book. So if you want something a little longer, something to read over the course of like a month or two, and just to be torn apart, Wuthering Heights is your book. The next book I don't have a physical copy of, but it is Tristan and Is Old. It's a very old, tragic love story from the 12th century. So much has been inspired by it. I definitely think it's worth a read. It's also really short, so you could probably read it on Valentine's Day. You can actually read it for free on Project Gutenberg, so I'm gonna link it down below. It follows Tristan as he sets out to Ireland to bring Is Old back to actually marry his uncle, who's the King of Cornwall. And on their journey back, Tristan and Is Old ingest a love potion by accident, and that kind of sets off their illicit love affair. This book is really short, really sweet, has some beautiful lines. It has inspired so much romantic literature. To me, it's really similar to Romeo and Juliet, but it is so beautiful and definitely a classic romance. Now, I couldn't make this video without including some poetry. So next we have Vita Nuova by Dante. And this is so good. This is from the 13th century, and we have a few different variations of poetry in here. We have stanzas, sonnets, ballads. It's also really short, so you can read it on Valentine's Day. And this is kind of autobiographical. The narrator is never named, but it has a lot of parallels to Dante's real life. So this book starts out when Dante is about 9 or 10 and he sees Beatrice for the first time, which prompts the Vita Nuova, or his new life, which I think is so romantic and so sweet. And we follow this story all the way to our narrator mourning Beatrice's death. I think this is a great introduction to poetry, or even just to Dante. This was a big inspiration for Inferno. Lastly, I have probably the ultimate love story, at least I kind of consider it to be that, and that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I say it's the ultimate love story because we follow primarily two relationships. We follow Anna Karenina's love triangle, and we also follow Levin and Kitty's love story. We also follow Dolly and Stiva's love story. Throughout all of these characters, we have elements of happiness, sadness, tragedy. This book really showcases so many different types of relationships, and for that reason, I'm calling it the ultimate love story. And if anything, there will be at least one character that you fall in love with. I really, really recommend Anna Karenina if you want something long, if you want characters that you're gonna get attached to, if you wanna see different types of relationships. I just think this book is so universal when it comes to love. Those are all of my classic romance stories / Valentine's Day recommendations. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there are any love stories that you'd like to recommend in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!